Welcome to Infinite Heart Stories, where we explore the deepest corners of the human soul to find wisdom, peace, and true understanding. Meet Mark, a brilliant young scholar who spent his entire youth surrounded by towering bookshelves, reading every single volume he could find. He could quote ancient philosophers by heart and solve complex equations instantly, believing that his vast accumulation of facts made him superior. Yet, despite the thousands of books he had devoured, a profound sense of hollowness echoed loudly within the chambers of his heart. He knew the theories of happiness, yet he was not happy. He knew the definitions of love, yet he felt deeply alone. Driven by this confusing emptiness, Mark decided to leave his dusty library behind and seek the advice of a legendary wise gardener. He travelled through dense forests and crossed wide rivers, carrying his heavy books, convinced that he just needed one more missing secret. Finally, he arrived at a humble cottage surrounded by vibrant flowers, where an old man was quietly tending to a small bush. The gardener looked up with eyes full of starlight, smiling gently as if he had been waiting for Mark for a lifetime. Mark immediately began to list his credentials, speaking rapidly about his degrees, his research, and the many difficult books he had mastered. The old man raised a hand to stop the flow of words, and simply invited Mark to sit down for some tea. The master began to pour hot tea into Mark's cup. He poured until it was full, but he did not stop pouring. The tea overflowed the cup, spilling onto the saucer, then onto the table, and finally dripping down onto Mark's expensive leather shoes. Mark jumped up in surprise and shouted at the old man, asking why he continued to pour when the cup was full. The gardener smiled and said, "You are just like this cup, filled to the brim with your own opinions and rigid speculations. How can I possibly show you the path to true wisdom if you do not first empty your cup of existing knowledge?" Mark stood frozen, realizing that his greatest barrier was the phrase, "I already know that," which blocked all new understanding from entering. The old man then guided Mark to a hill overlooking the valley, pointing out 3 distinct gardens that represented different stages of growth. The first garden looked impressive from a distance, filled with tall structures and statues. But as they got closer, the reality changed. This is the garden of knowledge, where every plant has a label and a description. But the soil is dry and lifeless. The trees here are withered because the gardener spends all his time reading books about water, instead of actually watering the roots. It represents those who hoard information without application, mistaking the memorization of a map for the actual journey through the terrain itself. Mark saw his own reflection in a dried-up pond, recognizing that his life had been a collection of labels without any substance. They walked to the second garden, which was chaotic and wild, with plants growing over each other in a tangled, messy struggle. This is the garden of mindless action, where the gardener works day and night, sweating profusely, but lacks any clear plan or direction. He pulls up flowers, thinking they are weeds, and waters the rocks, moving with great speed, but achieving absolutely nothing of value. This represents people who are always busy, running from task to task, but never stopping to understand the purpose of their actions. Mark realized he also did this, reading frantically just to say he had read, without letting the words truly sink in deep. Finally, they arrived at the third garden, a place of breathtaking beauty where colours blended in harmony and the air smelled sweet. This is the garden of understanding, where knowledge guides action and action deepens knowledge, creating a cycle of true growth and wisdom. Here, the gardener knows exactly when to water and when to prune, listening to the needs of the plants with quiet attention. The trees were heavy with ripe fruit, not because of force, but because the conditions were perfectly aligned for natural, healthy growth. Mark felt a deep sense of peace just standing there, realizing that this harmony was what his soul had been craving forever. The master turned to Mark and whispered that the secret to this garden is not more books, but the humility to practice. To enter this state, you must let go of the need to be right and embrace the vulnerability of being a beginner. Mark looked at his hands, calloused from holding books, and imagined them covered in soil, planting seeds of real change and growth. He left the cottage that day without his heavy books, walking lighter, with a mind ready to observe rather than to judge. Mark returned to his city, but stopped lecturing others. Instead, he started listening, truly hearing the stories of the people around him. He remembered he knew the theory of kindness, so he began to help his elderly neighbour carry her groceries up the stairs. The theory of kindness was dry words on a page, but the act of kindness was warm, connecting him to another human. Every time his mind said, "I know this," he paused and asked himself, "But do I live this in my daily life?" Slowly, the grey emptiness in his heart began to fill with the vibrant colours of experience, just like the third garden's beauty. He realised that wisdom is not a trophy to be displayed on a shelf, but a living practice that breathes and evolves. The most dangerous trap for smart people is the illusion of competence, believing that understanding the concept is the same as mastering it. You must build a bridge between your head and your heart, and the only material that can build that bridge is action. Think about your own life right now. How many things do you claim to know, yet you struggle to actually do them? You know that exercise is good for you, yet you remain seated. You know that anger is poison, yet you drink it. This gap between knowing and doing is where suffering lives. Closing this gap is the only path to true freedom and peace. So, here is a challenge for you. For the next 7 days, catch yourself every time you think or say, "I know." When you hear that phrase in your mind, stop immediately. Replace it with the question, "Am I practicing this truth right now?" Pick one small thing you have known for years but never applied. It could be drinking more water or simply deep breathing. Do not read another article about it. Do not discuss it with your friends. Just do it, quietly and consistently, every day. Observe how your mind resists. Observe the excuses that arise. This observation is the beginning of emptying your cup for fresh tea. As you take action, you will find that the knowledge changes. It becomes three-dimensional, having texture, weight, and a profound emotional reality. The garden of knowledge is safe but dead. The garden of action is busy but blind. The garden of understanding is alive. Mark eventually became a teacher, not by reciting books, but by sharing the light of his own transformation with his humble students. He taught them that a single step taken in the real world is worth more than 1,000 miles travelled in the mind. This truth applies to everything: relationships, health, career, and spiritual growth. All require us to step out of the library of theory. Remember the teacup. If you are full of yourself, life cannot give you anything new. You must create space to receive. Humility is that space. It is the fertile soil in the third garden that allows the seeds of wisdom to finally sprout. Imagine your life as that garden. Is it dry and labelled? Is it weedy and chaotic? Or is it fruitful and serene? The choice is yours to make today. You can keep collecting dusty books, or you can pick up a watering can now. Do not be afraid of being a beginner. Every master was once a disaster who kept trying until they finally understood the way. Trust the process of doing. Let your hands get dirty. Let your ego dissolve. Let the true learning begin in your heart. Whenever you feel stuck, remember Mark and the gardener. Ask yourself if your cup is too full to let the solution inside. Life is not as complicated as our intellect makes it. It is as simple as pouring tea and tending to a garden. When you understand this, the emptiness vanishes. You become connected to the world, to others, and to the deepest part of yourself. We are reaching the end of our journey today, but for you, the real journey is just about to start right now. Take a deep breath. Let go of the need to know. Embrace the joy of learning through living, loving, and truly being. If this story resonated with your heart, please share it with someone who might be stuck in their own garden of knowledge. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel to join our community of seekers, growing together towards a life of wisdom. Comment below with the one small action you will take this week. Let us hold each other accountable on this beautiful path. Thank you for spending these precious moments with us. Your time and attention are gifts that we cherish deeply and appreciate immensely. May your cup always have room for more, and may your garden bloom with the sweet fruits of understanding and genuine peace. This has been a presentation by Infinite Heart Stories. Stay curious, stay humble, and keep writing your beautiful story. Until next time.